Ukrainian forces have executed precision mid-range strikes against key Russian military infrastructure deep behind front lines. These coordinated attacks targeted critical supply depots and logistics hubs essential for maintaining Moscow's offensive capabilities. By destroying these assets, Kyiv aims to disrupt the flow of ammunition and fuel to the front. This tactical shift forces Russian commanders to rethink their defensive strategies and supply chain security. Future operations will likely see an increased emphasis on long-range strikes to degrade Russian combat power. Leaked defense documents suggest a clandestine agreement between Moscow and Beijing involving the delivery of advanced Ka-52M attack helicopters. This alleged pipeline signals a deepening military partnership that could significantly alter the balance of power in both Ukraine and the Indo-Pacific. Analysts warn that such cooperation provides Russia with vital hardware while emboldening China's regional ambitions. These developments complicate international efforts to isolate the Russian war machine. The revelation of this secret deal underscores the growing geopolitical stakes of the alliance. 4 years after the full-scale Russian invasion, new data reveals the staggering human and economic toll of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Tens of thousands of lives have been lost, while millions of citizens remain displaced from their homes. The economic damage to Ukrainian infrastructure has reached hundreds of billions of dollars, requiring long-term international reconstruction efforts. These figures highlight the sheer scale of the devastation caused by persistent frontline combat. The war's duration continues to reshape the demographic and physical landscape of the nation. Escalating tensions in the Middle East are increasingly intertwined with the ongoing war in Ukraine, effectively creating a secondary proxy battleground. Russia and Iran have strengthened military ties, exchanging weaponry and tactical intelligence that impacts both theaters of conflict. This alignment forces Western allies to manage global security interests while maintaining support for Kyiv. The convergence of these two crises complicates diplomatic efforts to contain regional instabilities. Global powers must now navigate a world where local conflicts are inextricably linked. International analysts are questioning whether a viable diplomatic solution remains possible to end the conflict in Ukraine. Deep-seated territorial disputes and clashing security visions have stalled formal peace negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow. While some suggest a ceasefire, others argue that neither side is prepared to abandon their core objectives. The uncertainty of a resolution leaves the region in a state of indefinite geopolitical tension. Finding a path to peace requires significant concessions that remain elusive for both leaderships. Ukraine is currently locked in a grueling war of endurance as it attempts to repel Russian forces across an expansive front line. Both nations are mobilizing significant human and material resources to outlast the other in a battle of attrition. This strategy places immense pressure on Ukraine's domestic economy and its reliance on Western military aid. As the conflict drags on, the focus has shifted from rapid territorial gains to maintaining defensive integrity. Sustaining this high-intensity warfare will dictate the long-term viability of the Ukrainian state. Russian military forces have initiated a new, aggressive offensive in Ukraine, capitalizing on a period of intense global focus on the Iran crisis. President Zelensky has expressed deep concern that international attention is being diverted, potentially weakening the global resolve to support his country. This tactical window allows Moscow to push forward with renewed momentum on the battlefield. The outcome of these attacks will likely determine the territorial integrity of eastern Ukraine in the coming months. Kyiv must now manage the dual challenge of defending its borders while maintaining global diplomatic support. New mapping data provides a detailed visualization of how the front lines in Ukraine have shifted since the Russian invasion began 4 years ago. These maps highlight the areas currently under occupation, the intensity of combat zones, and the resulting displacement of millions. By tracking these movements, experts can identify the strategic importance of specific regions in the ongoing struggle. The visual evidence underscores the immense difficulty of reclaiming territory held by entrenched Russian forces. Understanding these geographic realities is essential for evaluating the current state of the conflict. With the world's eyes fixed on the escalating conflict in Iran, Russia has launched a reinvigorated spring offensive in Ukraine. This strategic timing is designed to exploit the reduced international spotlight on the European theater of war. Emboldened by perceived Western distraction, Russian commanders are pushing harder to secure gains before global attention shifts back to the region. The impact of this offensive could significantly alter the defensive posture of Ukrainian forces. Maintaining aid and focus remains the primary challenge for Ukraine's international partners. Evidence has emerged confirming that military contractors from Cameroon were killed while fighting in the ongoing war in Ukraine. Leaked communications verify the presence of these foreign nationals within the ranks of Russian-affiliated forces. This development highlights the global reach of the conflict and the recruitment of fighters from African nations. The involvement of foreign contractors complicates the international legal standing of the combatants involved. This incident serves as a grim reminder of the war's expanding international footprint. Ukraine has entered its fifth year of conflict, with citizens across the country pausing to honor the thousands of soldiers and civilians killed since 2022. Memorial services were held in major cities to remember the victims of the Russian invasion. This somber anniversary emphasizes the profound human cost paid by the Ukrainian people in their struggle for sovereignty. Despite the passage of time, the resolve to defend the nation remains a central theme in public discourse. The nation looks toward an uncertain future while mourning the losses of the past. A new photographic collection documents the devastating reality of the four-year war in Ukraine, capturing both the frontline combat and the destruction of civilian life. These images provide a stark look at the ruined cities, displaced families, and the daily survival of those living under constant bombardment. By humanizing the statistics, the photographs highlight the resilience of the Ukrainian population amidst total war. The collection serves as a historical record of the conflict's impact on European stability. These visual accounts are a testament to the ongoing struggle for survival. 4 years into the invasion, experts continue to debate the primary motivations behind Vladimir Putin's decision to launch the war in Ukraine. Analysts point to a desire for regional hegemony and a rejection of Western political influence as the core drivers of the conflict. Understanding these motivations is critical to assessing whether a diplomatic end to the war is even possible. Current projections suggest that the conflict may continue as long as Moscow believes its strategic goals are within reach. The path toward ending the war requires addressing these fundamental geopolitical disagreements. The widespread adoption of drone technology is fundamentally altering the tactical landscape of the Russia-Ukraine war. Both sides are increasingly relying on unmanned aerial vehicles for reconnaissance, target acquisition, and direct kinetic strikes. This dronization of the conflict has deepened the level of mutual attrition, making it harder for either side to achieve decisive breakthroughs. The reliance on these systems has transformed traditional infantry and artillery operations into a high-tech battle of sensors and signals. This technological evolution remains a defining characteristic of modern warfare. As the conflict enters its fifth year, political analysts are assessing the probability of the war in Ukraine concluding by 2026. Current projections are based on factors including military resource depletion, domestic political stability in both nations, and the sustainability of international aid. While some experts see a potential for stalemate, others argue that unforeseen developments could force a resolution sooner. The timeline for peace remains highly speculative, dependent on the outcome of ongoing offensives and geopolitical shifts. International observers continue to monitor these variables for signs of a turning point. A new report indicates that Russia has suffered over 1.2 million casualties since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This figure represents the highest loss of life for the Russian military in any conflict since the conclusion of World War II. These massive losses have forced the Kremlin to repeatedly mobilize new troops to sustain the front lines. The toll highlights the brutal nature of the current combat and the immense pressure on the Russian state. Such statistics suggest a level of attrition that is historically unprecedented for modern Russian military operations. Satellite analysis using Sentinel-2 data has revealed the extensive environmental destruction caused by the war within Ukraine's forest ecosystems. Ongoing shelling and military maneuvers have led to large-scale deforestation, soil contamination, and the loss of biodiversity. These ecological impacts pose long-term risks to the country's natural resources and agricultural health. The data provides a clear picture of how the war is physically scarring the Ukrainian landscape beyond the immediate human toll. Recovering these ecosystems will require decades of environmental remediation once the conflict ends. Taking stock of the four-year war in Ukraine reveals a complex picture of military, economic, and social exhaustion. The conflict has forced a total reorganization of Ukrainian society while challenging the security architecture of the entire European continent. International partners are evaluating the effectiveness of current support programs in light of the war's protracted nature. This assessment is vital for determining future policy responses and aid strategies. The reality remains that the situation is a transformative event for global security. The United States is facing significant challenges in rapidly scaling up its defense industrial base to meet the urgent munitions demands of the Ukraine war. Despite efforts to increase production, supply chain bottlenecks and labor shortages have slowed the delivery of critical artillery and missile systems. This inability to surge production at the necessary speed complicates the U.S. strategy of sustaining Ukraine's defensive efforts. Policymakers are now considering long-term investments to ensure the defense sector can meet future crisis-era needs. The gap between demand and production capacity remains a primary concern for military planners. The introduction of armed robotic systems onto the battlefield marks a significant shift in the operational tactics used in the Ukraine war. These autonomous and semi-autonomous units are being deployed for tasks ranging from defensive perimeter security to direct engagement with enemy forces. By utilizing robots, commanders aim to reduce the exposure of human soldiers to high-risk environments. This evolution in combat technology reflects a broader trend toward the automation of warfare. The long-term impact of these systems on the rules of engagement remains a subject of intense debate.